We are back today on site with Blast. Probably should have said on site once, but I don't know. We are on site with Blast, and I am here with Dr. Latina Shell. And we've been trying to get this to work for a while. We tried to collaborate. And hopefully we will still collaborate on some other things, but. I'm happy I finally have you as my guest. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here finally in person.
Yes. I think we were on a panel together, right? Did we do like a panel discussion for the NAACP on Zoom? And that was during the pandemic. We was talking off camera about the pandemic, but yeah, I think we were on a Zoom town hall or something with the NAACP.
Yes, that would have been like during the pandemic.
So that was definitely locked down at that time. Yes. For sure.
Yes.
But yes, I have you in the studio, and while I have you here, we're going to talk about a lot of great stuff. First and foremost, how are you doing?
I'm well. I'm blessed. So it's just really nice to be here in your studio. I'm loving it. I'm loving the vibes. Yeah, this is nice.
Thank you. We try to keep it cozy, nice and comfortable. So tell me a little bit about your background, because I want to get because you're a doctor, and I want to put some respect on your name. First and foremost, does anybody does that ever bother you when they don't put that title? Because that's something you work for, right? So people should respect that, right?
Yeah. So I'll just tell you a little bit about myself, and then I'll answer your question as well. So yes, I am from Lancaster City. I grew up in the 7th Ward. I attended Lancaster City School District, George Washington Elementary, Han Junior High at the time, and then McCaskey. Graduated in 94. Went on to Millersville University, received my bachelor's degree in psychology, minor in African American studies, and also my master's degree I obtained in counselor education. In 2000.
Did you go to school straight through, or did you take a break?
I went straight through.
Straight through?
Straight through.
Did you get sick of it after a while? Because when I went from high school to college and just was trying to get the bachelor's, I was like, no, listen, I'm tired. This school.
Well, I will definitely say I was definitely on a college track in high school. So no, that was my thing.
You were just built for that.
I was good until I got to the doctorate. Yeah, that was something serious. That alone took me 7 years just to get the doctorate.
And you went straight from your bachelor's to the master's to the doctorate.
Bachelor's, master's,
no breaks.
And doctorate, no breaks.
So you had a plan, though. You had a vision and plan. This is what I'm going to do.
I did. I always wanted to obtain my doctorate degree. But yeah, I didn't realize it was going to take 7 additional years on top of the 4 years for undergrad, 2 years for master's, and then another 7 years for the doctorate. Yeah, because I was working full time. I was a school counselor, working through the school district of Lancaster.
Working full time
and going to school part time. So that's why it took me so long. Yeah.
And did you have a family already?
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Married with kids.
That is a lot.
Yeah.
So you had to be a mother, wife, student, full time employee.
There you go.
That's
and
a
couple gigs on the side.
That is a lot. How'd you do it? Was it stressful for you?
Oh my gosh, yeah. Very, very, very stressful. Yeah. But I had a goal in mind, and I was very determined, and had a lot of support. Definitely, had a lot of support. So, yeah, it was rough, but thank God I made it.
So put some respect on that doctor name.
There we go. So to address that, no, I mean, it just depends on the setting. Now, definitely, because I teach full time, I'm a college professor. Mm-hmm. My students, I do prefer for them to call me Dr. Shell. But other than that, I'm Tina.
I'm going to call you Doc today. So, so you're in the mental health field, that's like a new passion of mine. So I try to I'm trying to normalize the conversation, because I think among the Black community, it comes with a stigma. I actually spoke to one of my friends last week, and we were talking about mental health, and he actually got into therapy because I speak about it so freely, and he got into it, and he said that he would have got into it, but he always thought it made you look weak. And I thought that came from a place of being a man for one, and then being a black man on top. Like, we're not supposed to do that. We always thought like therapy was always like, you're crazy if you go to therapy. Something's wrong with you, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So is that something that you see or with black folks?
Absolutely. I was going to say it starts, it's a cultural, just, and it all starts from slavery. You don't go outside of, you don't tell the master, you don't tell other folks because, you don't become a snitch.
Right.
And so, it starts there. It started there rather. And we're just a very private, culturally speaking, because we don't trust. Because when we trust, certain things happen to us. So
I think we're even quiet about the stuff that we shouldn't be quiet about that doesn't deal with mental health. Like if we know one of the uncles molested one of the, we keep it quiet. Like it's never like we don't put them on blast. A lot of the time they don't turn even the uncle in. We knew what happened. We keep it quiet, and then or if we know one of our family members is on crack or heroin or whatever, they have an addiction. We don't really address it. It's just like we all kind of quietly know that relative, he's on drugs, and we don't speak about it. We don't get him help. We don't do nothing. Like black folks, I feel like we always just try to we just pray it away and try to and prayer is good. I have no problem with prayer if you're a religious person, but I feel like there's some things cause for more, and you have to be proactive. Would you think the same?
Absolutely. I always say it is okay to have God as well as a therapist.
Yeah.
It's like, when you're sick, you go to the doctor, don't you? If you have like a medical or physical illness, right? So seeing a therapist is of the same mind. If you're, sick, you pray and, definitely. But God also gives us common sense.
Yeah.
We're earthly beings. So,
exactly.
We need supports, and therapy is definitely a great support when you're struggling emotionally or mentally.
Do you think like sometimes we go through so much, especially like our community, which is now just starting to talk about mental health and stuff like that, but sometimes it's just normal to us, so we don't even know the signs to look for to know that we're going through something. Like if you don't want to come out the house or come out your room for 3 days, or you're constantly in your head and it's causing you to react because of these thoughts that you're having, a lot of us just feel like, oh, that's just me, or I'm a Libra, I'm a Cancer, or I'm this, or I'm that. Like we'll throw it on the signs and whatever we gonna throw it on, but it's never like, yo, I need help. And
absolutely.
And I just think, like, what are some of the signs you think that we should look for? Like, nobody knows what to look for because this is new to us.
Well, I don't think it's new to us. I just think that we have, not addressed it. We've swept things up under the rug. I mean, if we reflect back to even when we were in school, like we can think like, oh wow, like that person did like have some issues.
But we've reduced it to crazy. Even then,
exactly,
they just crazy.
Exactly.
We've given people nicknames. Oh, that's just Crazy Jim. That's Crazy Bob. Like and it's messed up.
Yeah.
But that's how we've always treated it in our communities, right? Like it's never like, yo, nah, maybe Bob or Jim or whoever, they need help. Like we should probably look into that.
Right. Yeah, but I think it's more about ignorance. If you don't really know, if it's something that your parents didn't, and and it's generational.
Right.
So that's why I'm so happy that you're having platforms like this, and we're starting to have these dialogues and these discussions. Also we have celebrities who are now exposing this topic. We have professional athletes, so it's about time. It's long overdue.
Right.
So definitely, I think historically, especially like with the Tuskegee experience, we are always we don't trust, and rightfully so. It's a cultural mistrust thing.
Do you think, like, speaking of the Tuskegee experiment, do you think some of the issues that are caused for us are systemic and institutionalized? Like some of the things, we know that we're oppressed by some of these systems that are set up, but do you think that's also causing the PTSD too?
Absolutely. The systems of oppression, they're created, that way so that, people of color, in particular blacks, we don't have a seat at the table.
Right.
It's set up that way. It's designed that way. I mean, even if you look at, the police, black men, you look at all the statistics when it comes to black folks, institutionalized in prisons, health disparities, so when you look at all of that,
I feel like white people have been talking about therapy for a long time. Like even on like TV, I always remember like the white guy or the white woman laying on the couch and they're talking to the like that was never a black thing. Like this was back in like the 90s on shows, and I remember like that was just never a thing for us. Like we had black shows. I've never seen them on the couch talking to a therapist. Like it just wasn't a thing.
Right. But again, I think that's more of how we were reared, how we grew up, in terms of, you don't talk outside of the family, or if you do, you go to your pastor. Like, I think that's just a cultural difference in terms of how we express ourselves. We express ourselves, through music and through dance, differently, but not sharing our family business.
Right.
That's something you keep in the family. And we got to break those barriers, those walls down, because that's what's keeping us sick. That's keeping us behind, because it is healthy that if you're feeling a certain way, that you get it out, that you talk to somebody, that you learn, positive coping strategies, and you learn how to deal with things instead of keeping it to yourself and suffering in silence is what we're doing. So it's kind of like we have to unlearn those old habits and learn new ways to function properly.
I agree 100%. I feel like some of those weight that we feel like we can always handle, they're just too much to bear. And I didn't realize that till I started going into therapy. And my therapy session is basically like the first quarter of it, like, because I'm in it every week. And the first quarter of my session is usually like we're setting up my plan so I can get better and work on these things. And then the rest of it is me venting about stuff I've been through. And I didn't realize like the stuff I've seen coming up or stuff I've been through or just, I mean, I normalized it in my head, but these are things I'm carrying around with me that are causing me stress. These are traumatic events. But it was just like until you know that, then you just think it's normal. You're just like, it is what it is.
Right. It's like a survival, this is what I have. This is what I've always done. And this is what my parents have done and my grandparents, so, why should I think or do anything differently?
Yeah.
Because, that's why a lot of us aren't here anymore, And so we definitely, we just have to do things differently. If we want to live longer, if we want to have healthy lives, if we want to be happy and healthy, we have to change the way that we do things.
Because holding all that stuff in causes stress. Stress causes high blood pressure. Like,
absolutely.
These are all things like, and that's not even specific to black folks. Like anyone who's just holding things in and not wanting to like, I feel like you have to speak. To me, everybody should be in therapy. Like, I think that should be included on your insurance. I don't know why it's so hard. Like, mental health is not seen. Like, I hear so many people like that want therapy now because it's becoming like more normal, and they can't afford it, and their insurance don't cover it. And I think that's sad. I think your insurance should cover therapy like it would cover your mental, like your physical checkups. You know what I mean? And yeah, I just think like we have to get to that point for me.
Yes. I think we're definitely, we're getting there. I've seen as a provider, when my clients go to have their wellness checks, their physical examinations, physicians are now asking them, they're giving them mental health assessments and screenings, which never happened in the past. So the fact that PCPs are now doing that, in the past it was more so, well, here's a prescription, you have depression, here's your Zoloft, or, take this and you'll feel better. And now it's more or less, if this is what you need in conjunction with therapy, to help, make those behavioral changes, really. So I think we're definitely, we've come a very long way. We have a very long way to go, but I think we're making significant progress. Absolutely. Do
you think, because we spoke about the pandemic a little earlier, do you think that the pandemic caused a spike in mental health cases being reported? Because I know that's when it became a little more heavy for me personally.
Absolutely. I've seen, as a provider, skyrocketed cases of anxiety, depression, trauma, especially relationship issues. Oh my, lots of relationship issues. Parenting issues, parents having to school their children.
Those relationship issues probably came from, we stuck in the house now.
Yes, absolutely.
You find out if you really like that person that you with.
Absolutely. And on the flip side, there were some success stories as well, time to really bond, and, everybody's so busy. And so it really forced people to learn new habits and hobbies and, get along. So I saw a little of both.
Do you think mental health issues are causing relationships to break up? Like, are they detrimental to relationships?
Absolutely. I think that, when you're in a relationship, that's where communication comes in. It is so key. And if somebody in a relationship has a mental health disorder, that partner needs to be educated about it. Because I think there's these preconceived notions, about what it means to have whatever disorder it is. And a lot of times they're not even true. They're not even accurate. Yeah. A lot, especially with depression. I've had a lot of couples in therapy where they're thinking, oh, well, this person's always sleeping and they're not eating and they just need to get up and do something. And, that's not necessarily possible.
I remember before I was diagnosed, like my wife, and bless her soul for dealing with everything I was putting her through. But she just couldn't understand why you're always in your head and you always this and that, and you come out in these moods, and I didn't know anything, so I'm just like, I don't want to deal with you today. I'm in this mood. This is what I didn't realize, like, no, I got a anxiety issue and I needed to be diagnosed. Someone had to tell me that. And then once I knew and what I was dealing with, it took another process for her to understand, had to deal with it as the person that is with, like, because now she's my wife. Hopefully she wouldn't leave me, but you have a choice at that moment. Like, is this something I want to keep dealing with?
Absolutely. Yeah, so there's a lot of education that needs to come along with it, not only for the partner, but for the person, for the individual. Like you were saying, like, you might not even realize some of the things that you're doing, and it has to be brought to your attention. And then you need to learn new ways of coping and how to respond and how to interact with your partner.
Yeah. It was rough for me. It was definitely rough. But I can see it, because I can see, like, some people not being as understanding. Like, I know everybody doesn't have that time, especially if it gets to a level that is like detrimental to the family. And like, I did a lot of being quiet and shutting down, and it was just like, it just wasn't healthy. Like, I'm coming home and I'm not talking to nobody. It's because I was in my head all day, and now I'm tired. I'm exhausted because of these thoughts. It was wild, but we made it through. We're in a better place because now I know what I'm dealing with, and I know how to handle it. And a lot of people don't. This is why we're doing this. Do you see what are the some of the things you see most in children? So maybe some parents know what to look for.
Yeah, our babies. They're dealing with so much. Anything from peer pressure. A lot of the children, they don't know the difference. They're watching, so they're on social media. There's a lot of pressure from social media, especially with girls, and self-esteem and body image, and the boys as well, in terms of their whole physique, and if they're athletes. Like, there's just so many pressures out there. And I definitely feel like social media, because that's something we did not have when we were growing up. But that definitely is that
amplifies everything.
It amplifies everything. Absolutely.
I don't think the human mind is meant to take in that many opinions from different people. Because, like, before the internet and social media, we didn't have that much human interaction. Nobody did.
Right.
And now it's like every day at the touch of your finger, you got hundreds of people that you could interact with, or thousands sometimes. And I don't think that's healthy. I think that's too much information into you, especially when you don't turn it off for a little bit.
Absolutely. And you're not getting that social, that socialization.
The real,
Exactly. Especially if you're a gamer as well. So now, not only are you on social media, but you're gaming all day, and so definitely, as parents, out there, definitely monitor your children's, usage of social media, of technology. You have to shut it off sometimes.
Is there any kind of like studies that show that social media and the internet and video games like that has an effect on
Absolutely. When we had issues with attention deficit disorder and all of that in the past, but that has skyrocketed.
I believe it.
So, you just have to have a healthy medium when it comes to your children and social media and technology and video games and things of that nature. Knowing how to balance it all is key.
One of the things that that when I started therapy, I had two therapists. The one it didn't work out, and then I had one who I've been with for about a year now. And honestly, like culturally, and my therapist is a white woman, and the first one was a white dude, and honestly, I was looking for someone black, and it just wasn't working like that for the facility that I had to use. But it took me a while to really get, and it wasn't the fact that she was white; it's the fact that like I felt like there was a disconnect, and it was like, I don't know, like, do you think that matters? Like I feel like you should be talking to somebody that you're comfortable with, and we're comfortable now.
Yeah,
we're fine, but it took a while. It took a while.
Yeah, it's interesting because actually my dissertation research was on that. I actually wanted to see, what black people thought in terms of, in terms of a preference. Do they prefer a black counselor? Do they prefer a white counselor? Do they have no preference at all? And what I found was, depending on their racial cultural identity development, so meaning if they had more of a pro-black identity, they preferred a black counselor, which makes sense. But when you look at the reality of it, we're in Lancaster. I'm one of, few therapists of color, especially in private practice. So when you look at the reality of it, I think that it is important for the profession to make sure that all counselors are multiculturally competent. I'm a college professor, and I teach in a graduate counseling program, and we teach all of our counselors, regardless of their race, creed or color, any of that, to be multiculturally competent, so that whoever is sitting in front of you, you are equipped and you are knowledgeable, and you make your client feel comfortable. So that is ultimately the goal. We still have a long way to go.
That's why my first one didn't work. Because I just felt like all of his answers weren't like you don't understand.
Absolutely.
You just
and that's
don't
important.
Get it. Yeah.
And that's important. Yeah.
And that's what it was. And we were making no leeway after like 3 months, and I was like, nah, this ain't it.
Exactly.
And
kudos to you for acknowledging and recognizing that it was not a good fit for you.
Yeah.
You know?
Because I was really sold on trying to get better. Like this is something that I wanted to do, and I was like, I'm not going to stop doing it because of this person.
Right.
And then I met the second counselor, and I was like, oh, here we go again. But she started getting it. Like, she started getting it, and she started responding in a way that I felt like it started to help. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, we cool now. Shout out to my therapist.
That's great. But again, it's self-awareness and understanding and knowing what it is that you want, as a consumer. We're consumers. We're, paying or, so it's important to know what we want. So kudos to you.
How do you think that these issues affect you mentally? Because I know, like, I'm not even a therapist, but I know, like, dealing with so many different personalities, sometimes it drains me a lot. So as you being someone who works solely in this field and you're taking in all of this constantly, all the time, how do you take care of you after all of that?
Yeah. Yeah. So I will publicly and state that all therapists need therapists. So
sure.
like you, I have a therapist. Absolutely. I definitely need somebody that I can go to when I need to vent or unload,
yeah,
or
absolutely.
just kind of get some different perspectives on things.
Mm-hmm.
But in addition to having my own therapist, I also definitely, another buzzword, especially during the pandemic, is self-care. I take care of myself. I know the things that I need, and I just make sure that I'm balanced.
I see you travel a lot. Is that part of your self-care?
Absolutely.
I'm a traveler too. I like
my love language.
I gotta be close to an ocean at some point. Put me back near an ocean.
Absolutely. Everybody needs to get away and to escape, the demands, of just living. It's rough. It's really rough. So definitely I recommend for everybody to have their own self-care regimen, whatever it is, mind,
whatever
spirit,
works.
Body, soul, and make sure that you're balanced. That's really the key, because what works for me may not work for you.
Yeah.
But it's knowing what works for you and what outlets you need to kind of release and woosah and get that out.
What would you say is the toughest part of your job, if you can even point that out? I'm sure there's a lot, but do you have one thing you could specifically point to that's the toughest?
Yeah. Wow, that is a loaded question.
Or a couple. You don't have to. Doesn't have to be one.
Yeah, I would probably just say, just knowing that I am responsible, for the livelihood of folks. You know what I mean? That is placed in my hands. That people trust in me, and and to help carry a lot of the burdens, that other people carry.
Do you ever feel like you let someone down, like one of your clients? Do you ever feel like I could have did more today, or I should have?
Absolutely, absolutely. I always beat myself up, like, oh my gosh, I wish I could have done this, or But at the end of the day, I'm human.
Sometimes doctors are so even keeled.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know what they're feeling, so you don't know if they're taking something home with them or not. Because it's your job to be. Mm-hmm. You got to be the most even one in the room at all times, right? At work, we're looking at the doctors like, fix us,
right? Absolutely. Yeah, it's a huge burden, and it is, just to know that, somebody's coming to you, and they're sometimes you're their last resort,
Yeah.
They're on the brink of, if this doesn't work, then I'm looking for, other things that aren't so healthy. So yeah, that's probably the hardest thing, and just saying no, because I get so many requests and calls, and and it's just like, I have to learn how to set my own boundaries, and because I can't do it all, and be able to say no. But that's hard.
My therapist always says, call if you need, you don't have to wait for us to, but I never do it because I'm like, I don't want to buy. I got a lot of stuff going on myself, and I would hate. I'm like at dinner or something, and someone call. Because I wouldn't tell I'm not a doctor neither, but I definitely wouldn't tell nobody, just call me when you want.
Right, exactly.
So I don't want to call them, but I can see the people that probably do need that help, they probably would, they would call if you said that.
Absolutely. No, I definitely have boundaries, and I let my clients know, okay? But yeah, I think that, I just have to really have firm boundaries and know that I can't save the world, but sometimes it's just that each one reach one, teach one. If it's that one person that I can, I just have to keep that mindset.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you one last thing, and this is a little loaded too. So, we are making a lot of progress in the mental health field. If you could, if you have a vision of what you see in 10 years where you would like us to be in that field as far as progress, where would you like to see some of the things you would like to see done?
Oh wow, that is loaded. 10 years. Oh my goodness. Well, let's start with now, because there's a lot that I, don't see happening, and things that I would like to have happening. You're saying in terms of the mental health field?
Yeah.
Yeah.
As far as progress and helping folks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So first and foremost, culturally competent counselors and therapists, because, it could definitely be detrimental to a client if you do not understand them as a cultural being.
Or they go in there with some kind of prejudice.
Absolutely. Discriminatory, racist beliefs. Absolutely. So that's first and foremost, to have counselors who are trained to be mutually competent. Yeah. Number one, first and foremost. More black therapists. As you can see, my shirt says Black Therapists Rock. And I am definitely pro-black.
Absolutely.
And Afrocentric. And, my therapeutic interventions and all of that. I do not deny or hide that at all. That's why my private practice name is Diversity Works. So that is definitely a passion of mine, and I am not afraid, or I'm proud of that. We definitely need more black therapists. We need more therapists of color, so that clients do have that preference if they want to choose. Like anything, you should be able to choose who you want to see. Also, I think
we should have better selection sometimes.
Absolutely.
No disrespect.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. I definitely think that, like you were stating, insurances need to definitely make mental health an initiative and a priority to provide full coverage, just like physical health. I think mental health definitely needs to have that same,
right.
For clients to be able to use their insurance instead of paying out of pocket. I think access in general. Just better access to mental health.
Because a lot of people don't even know where to go.
Exactly. I think there could be initiatives in terms of transportation.
One thing I said to a city council member last week was that I think when police calls are made, I think that they shouldn't have cops going to mental health situations. Like we had a situation a couple years ago here in this city where they were called and a boy was shot, and this was I think he was a man. He was grown but young, and this was someone that the family knew he had mental issues. This wasn't the first time. I don't think police should be going out there because they're only trained to do what they are trained to do. They should have people trained. I think that there should be a lot of money going to that across the country, in my opinion.
Absolutely. Yeah, and even in our own city, now we have licensed social workers who are working alongside police officers and across, not just here in Lancaster. But yes, I definitely agree with that. Absolutely.
Well, look, Dr. Latina Shell, I am so happy you came. I hope this wasn't as painful as you thought it was going to
be. No, not at all. Not at all.
This has been great. What is your practice? And it's private, right?
Yes.
So what is that? Where can they reach you? Anything you want to say before we get out of here?
Okay. So yes, I would like to add that May is Mental Health Awareness Month.
It definitely is.
Yes. And so definitely make sure that you are getting your mental health checked out with your physicians, seeking therapy and counseling, and just talking about it, normalizing this conversation with your children, with your family, with your loved ones, because we are responsible for each other. We need to make sure that we're taking care of each other. In terms of my practice is Diversity Works Counseling here in Lancaster City. I have a group practice, and I have 3 other practitioners who are black.
Okay.
I will add that.
Okay.
Yes. And so we have even a black male therapist.
Love it.
So
maybe I need to see if y'all cover. Let me bring my insurance over there.
Absolutely. But so if you want more information, you can consult the website. And oh my gosh, it's escaping me, but I believe it's www.lancaster-counseling. There we go. www.lancaster-counseling. Yes, and you can see our providers and get more information about seeking services if you need it.
Well, once again, thank you for coming. This is Blast, and I'm signing off with the doctor.
Absolutely.
See ya.
All right.